Hey everyone, welcome to episode number 13 of ON1 Inspiration. My name is Brian Matias. So we've got another guest presenter today. He's a very good friend of mine who I've known for many years. He's New Jersey-based photographer Scott Wyden Kivowitz, who's no stranger to ON1. He's actually done other videos with us as well, so let me thank him for coming back. Now here's the thing that I enjoy about Scott's video. Unlike me, I'll take more of the hammer approach when it comes to stylizing my photos. To me, there's something interesting about really changing the photo, whereas Scott takes a much more elegant, kind of subtle approach. And with this photo that you'll see that he took it's one of his favorites that he took at a recent trip to Grand Teton National Park, you let the scene speak for itself. So he's going to walk you through his workflow of how he uses Lightroom and ON1 essentially to bring out the natural beauty. And what I really appreciated is the methodical nature of his masking. Like, he doesn't just run through, he actually walks you through how he does his masking, which I think is great. So with that, I want to thank Scott, I want to thank you guys, and let's go check out his work.
Hi, this is Scott Wyden Kivowitz with an episode of ON1 Inspiration. Thank you to ON1 for inviting me back. I'm so glad to be able to share another story with the ON1 community. Today I want to show you a photograph from a recent trip to Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming. But before I show you the photo I'm going to edit, which is actually this one, I want to talk to you, share a little funny story. Or maybe it's not so funny, but it's a story about the journey for me to get to this photograph and to get to this photograph and this photograph. And yes, I'm bracketing here, so there's a little bit of similarities, but as you can see, it's this fun sort of mirrored effect. It actually reminds me of a kaleidoscope. I mean, look at the mirror you get with the smooth water and the trees and the rocks and everything. It's just gorgeous. But this is the photo I'm going to edit. And this photograph was an adventure to get to the spot, and it was well worth it. I got to Grand Teton National Park on it was a Friday actually. It was a Friday morning when I arrived, and I want my shutter button finger was itching for some photographs, and my friends and we went out and we found some great spots, but it wasn't really something that was inspiring me too much. So eventually, I think it was Sunday morning, that we decided to do a 1.5-mile hike up to this point where you see right now. And this is called Taggart Lake, and we started from this one spot of this trail. It's like a 16-mile hike normally, but the spot where we started to get to this point was about 1.5 miles up. It was about 300 feet of elevation that we had to go, about 1.5 miles, and it was in the dark. And this is bear country, and this is moose country, and this is wolf country. So it's dangerous to do on your own. And we were with a group of 12 of us went out of the 13 that were on the trip. So it was enough that it would keep animals away, but we still had to do this hike up over rocks and up over waterfalls. We had to do all this in the dark with nothing but headlamps. And it was an adventure. It was so much fun. It was very tiring, but it was well worth it. And it was an experience. It was something I will always remember. And the spot that we landed on when we finally got to the top was majestic. It was absolutely incredible. And so here is a map of where the photo is taken. You can see right here. Now I geotag all my photos, so you can see this is Taggart Lake, and I was standing right here when I took that photo. And basically, you park somewhere down here. I'm not sure exactly where the parking lot was, but we made our way all the way up to the lake. So this is again about a 300-foot hike up the mountain, and it was about 1.5 miles up and then 1.5 miles down. Obviously, going down was much easier. So this is Taggart Lake in Wyoming. It was so beautiful. Now, here we are back in Lightroom again. And I want to point out that I've been shooting for many years now, and even after over 10 years of making photographs, I make mistakes. And I'm human, I forget things. It turned out that I wound up forgetting to bring my adapter rings for my filters. So I use the Format High-Tech filter system, and I brought all my filters with me, and one thing I forgot was my adapter rings to attach the filter holder to my lenses. So the entire trip, I was either holding filters in front of my lenses or using my CPL. I always bring a CPL at 77 millimeters as a backup. And fortunately, I used that. Now, the CPL I was using was just a cheapo ProMaster brand CPL filter. It's about a stop to 2 stops of light reduction, which is good because it allowed me to open my shutter speed a little bit more. And I also was using a Nikon D810, which allows me to go down to ISO 64. So between the two, I was able to get a long enough exposure. Plus, it was also 4 in the morning, so I was able to it was still a little dark out, so I was able to, extend my shutter a decent amount in order to get the water smooth. And because it was so early, there was very little going on in the water. All the birds and whatnot were still, not in the water playing and catching fish and stuff like that. So it was pretty smooth, and it worked out in my favor. It did stink that I didn't have my filters for the full effect of my filters for the majority of the trip, but I made do. And that's what we do as photographers, is we take these challenges and we make do. We use our creativity to figure out ways to make it happen, and we just change our mind. We change our approach to things to instead of doing long exposures, we do shorter exposures, and we just deal with it, right? So this is what photographers do. Now, this photograph is one of my favorites from the trip, and the first thing I would do here in Lightroom, because this is where my Lightroom is my main catalog source, is I will actually go and just do a quick lens correction. Now, you might find that things are lagging a little bit. I have the screen recorder open, I have a notepad open, I have ON1 open, and I have Lightroom open. So between all of that, my laptop's going to be running a little slow, so please forgive me, but that is what happened. So I will, at first, I will start with a lens correction profile. If I needed to, I will go to transform and do an upright correction, but I don't need to do that with this landscape. I actually want to do very little to it. Now I'm going to just shift to daylight for the color tone, because this was made during daylight. Now this was, again, also through a CPL filter, so color shifting will happen a little bit, so just going to daylight will be worth the effort. You can see that my shutter speed was an eighth of a second. It's fairly slow. I was at 28 millimeters, ISO 64 at f13. Now, I'm not going to adjust anything with the exposure. I could if I wanted to, but I'm not, because I'm going to bring this into ON1 right from here and make a little bit of adjustment, and you'll see exactly what I want to do to the photo. So I'm going to hit pause while I go to edit and open in ON1 Photo 10, and I will unpause once it opens so that we can keep on moving. Okay, so here we are in ON1 Photo 10. Actually, I believe this is 10.5 at this point. What I'm going to do is, first thing I'm going to do is open it in ON1 Effects. And the reason I want to do that is there's a couple things that I want to do to the photo before I do anything else. There's a little bit of spots that I might want to remove in the sky and whatnot, but before I even do that, I am going to start with adding a couple things. So first, I want to bring out the texture and sharpness from the mountains and the trees and whatnot, and the trees and the reflection. In order to do that, I want to go to dynamic contrast, and I'm just going to hit natural. And I do this just because it is a beautiful way to enhance textures. And it's not overdone. It's, in fact, quite natural. You can make it overdone if you really wanted to. But you can see that alone brought out so much texture in the trees, right? So if I show you before, here's a preview off, you can see it still looks nice. It's not super crisp, but it's okay. And that could be because of the lens I was using. For this trip, majority of what I had to photograph was at a distance. So I brought with me the 28 to 300, 4.5 to 5.6 lens. This is from Nikon. It's a VR2 lens. It's a beautiful lens. It's not the best quality, but it's lightweight and it does a long range, which is what I needed. So again, here's before and here's after. You can see right away it brings in all the details. Pay attention. I'll do this one more time. Pay attention right here, and you'll notice before it's nice, but when it's turned on, it's even better. Now, even with it on, I do not want to add this effect to the sky or the water that's blue. And I'd say that because it's bringing out unnecessary texture when I do that. Right? It's bringing out unnecessary texture, so I don't need to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the masking brush here. I'm actually going to do, it's actually like the masking bug. It's going to just automatically remove it when I paint a little bit on the sky here. Watch what I do. And this takes a little bit of time because the algorithms need to figure out similar tones. But once I let go, it's going to now calculate with the quick mask what needs to be removed from this effect, right? So it's going to look at the sky, it's going to analyze all that, and then it's going to look at the rest of the image and take away that effect in all those locations. And now, once that's done, it takes a little bit, like I said, now it takes a little bit because it needs to analyze a lot, but it also takes a little bit because I am on my laptop, which is running lots of things. So once it's done, I should be able to see that the effect is added right here. As you can see, it just did it at the sky right now, so I can do it again and do the water. Okay, so now if you look at the mask, you can see it kind of looks like a fish. You can see there's black above and below the actual mountain and the trees and whatnot. If I click on the mask, you can see I can invert it, reset it, copy it, and let's actually do a preview of that. You can see where the mask, where ON1 automatically made it. Now, I can fine tune this mask by using like the different tools. For example, the chisel mask, the refine brush, and so on. I can fine tune that even more. For this purpose, I'm going to just quickly do a little bit of the refine brush, and let's just do this. And you can see it's getting rid of just that extra sky that's right above the mountains. I'm going to just go a little bit further. And you can see it has to think, look at all the pixels every time you let go of the mouse. And I'm actually thinking I'm going to leave the tree area alone. But let's find out. You can see, let me do this a little bit more, get rid of that a little bit more. And then I'll move on to the bottom. Let me just get to the bottom right here. Just do this. Okay. Now that's going to do the majority of the right side. Perfect. Now I can move into, we can actually switch to just the masking brush, make that bigger. I can turn on the perfect brush, and I can go ahead and just do this. And I'm going to just let the trees go, because I'm not too concerned. You can see I'm actually going a little bit into, let's reverse that to a plus. I'm going a little bit into the actual trees, which I don't want to do. Let's go back. Okay, there we go. I'm going to do the same thing at the bottom. I'm going to let the trees just go. The trees are very dark. I want them to be dark because I want more of the attention, the trees that I'm talking about that I'm painting right now, because I want most of the attention to be on the big body of trees. And then let's go ahead. I'm going to switch back to the fine brush, and let's just do this and get rid of the rest of that blue. All right, now I'm happy with that. So let's turn off the preview, and again I'm gonna just do one more before. You can see here this is gonna be before the dynamic contrast and then after the dynamic contrast. Okay, now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna copy this mask, and I'm doing that because not the effect I'm about to add right now, but the third effect I'm adding, I'm going to need that mask again. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to copy this mask because I really like how it looks on the on the trees and whatnot. And I'm going to add a filter, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to add a different filter. We're going to add a color enhancer, and I want to enhance that green, right? So I'm going to enhance the green right here in the trees, and there we go. Now you can see that I've got another layer here. I got dynamic contrast, and I have color enhancer. And I don't mind that it's for the entire photo. It doesn't make a difference. If I wanted to, I could go ahead and I could paste that mask. So I can go to mask and paste that, and now it won't touch the blue at all. Now, it's a little bit too saturated for my needs. I'm going to bring it down just a little bit to right about there. But if I show you before, again, look, it's a little bit reddish, a little brownish, and I show you after, it brings out the green in the trees. That's exactly what I want. Now, I could do this in Lightroom, but look how much easier it was for me to do that. Green, enhance the green tones inside of ON1. Literally went to color enhancer and hit green enhancer, and it's done. I didn't need to add the mask, but I did for, fine-tune control, making sure it's not touching the blue at all. I'm going to add one more filter, and for this filter, we're going to go use a photo filter. We're going to use blue. Now again, this is going to add it to the entire image, but because we can do some fine-tune control with masking, I'm going to go ahead and paste the mask, and you'll see that now the photo filter has a mask. We can click on that mask and hit invert, and now look, it only affected the blue in the sky and the water. Now I can uncheck that, and you can see the difference between the entire photo with all my changes except the sky and water, and then with it, look at that blue. Now here it is. Let's do an entire photo, right? Not just the layers. Let's do the entire photo before and after. Here's the before, and here's the after. Look at how the colors pop now. There's nice dynamic contrast. There's vivid greens in the trees. There's vivid blues in the water and sky. It's just a beautiful photograph. Really does look like a mirror image and a kaleidoscope type effect. It's stunning. So I'm going to hit apply right about now. Actually, first, before we hit apply, I am going to save this as a preset, and we're going to call this Taggart Lake, or just Taggart Lake. We'll just call it Taggart Lake, and Lake, and I'll put in ON1 inspiration, and this is from me, and we're going to create it. Now, that means that I now have a preset called Taggart Lake with my exact controls. It has a dynamic contrast, the color enhancer, and the photo filter. And then all you would need to do is use this preset and adjust the masking for the sky and the trees or grass or any greens in your scene. And you've got basically the same processing I have, and you'll be done. Now, I'm going to hit apply, and it will save this. It'll basically apply the effect to the overall image, and then I can, from there, save the PSD file and bring it back into Lightroom. Do any other changes, like if I have any spotting in the sky or anything like that, I can go ahead and make those adjustments from there. Right, so that's pretty much what I would do. Now you can see here I have the base layer and the ON1 effects layer. Let's see if there's anything else I want to do. I don't think so. I think I'm very happy with the result right there. And I'm going to hit save. With my processing style, just a quick note, I like keeping things simple. I like things to be elegant. I'm not one for going over the top with my processing. So the effects that I use in the various ON1 tools are usually very simple. I don't like going overboard for my images. Sometimes I like to play and experiment, but when there's a photo that's as elegant as this one from Taggart Lake, I don't like going too far. So that's why the styling I went with is very natural. I just want to enhance what I saw so you're seeing what I saw with my eyes. So that's saved. I'm going to close it. And let's go back to Lightroom, and you'll see here, once it loads up in Lightroom, I'll have two photos, one being the PSD. It just needs to render back into Lightroom. You can see it's a PSD right here, and the original DNG is right there. And then what I would do once that loads up is I would then go ahead and find any spots in the sky. And to do that, I would go to the Develop module, and there we go. Now it loaded up in Lightroom. I would go to the spot removal and hit visualize spots, and you can see there are actually no spots in the sky and in the water, which is really good. That means my sensor's nice and clean. So If there were any, I would just, zoom in and do some spot removals right there. But it's pretty clean. So I'm pretty much done with this photo. I'm very happy. It was a little bit of effort in ON1 because with the masking I had to do above and below. But other than that, it was very simple thanks to ON1 effects and the masking brushes and tools that it has available for me and the amazing effects. So thank you for watching. Thank you for walking through this journey. I hope you enjoyed the story about the 1.5-mile hike in the dark. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of physical activity, a lot more than I'm probably used to, especially since it's already 7,000 foot elevation in Wyoming, in the Grand Teton National Park, to start with. So I'm going from 7,000 foot elevation up about another 300 feet by foot, and not being from New Jersey, you're not really used to that type of elevation, so it wears you down more than it might have otherwise. So thank you again for joining me on this journey. I look forward to sharing some more inspiration with you next time.